Following is the 676th regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting held on December 12, 2019 at 1110 West Washington, Suite 250, Phoenix, Arizona 85007. The time is... Okay, I've got 10. Go ahead.
I'd like to call to order the 676th regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting of December 12, 2019. Welcome, everybody.
May I take roll?
Yes, you may take
Okay,
roll.
the time is 10 a.m. Roll call, Commissioner Coolidge. Commissioner Coolidge. Commissioner Coolidge, can you unmute your phone, please? Okay, I will come.
Did you say unmute my phone?
Yes, we're doing roll call. The meeting's open. So I'm doing roll call, so you're present.
Oh, yes, ma'am, sorry.
Thank you. Telephone. Commissioner Garay.
Yes, via telephone.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawless.
Here.
Commissioner McClintock.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum, and as a reminder for our audience and everybody present, please silence or turn off your cell phones. If you must take a call, please take it in the hallway so as not to disturb the meeting. Thank you. It's all yours.
Unless anybody else thinks otherwise, I don't think we need an executive session today.
I don't.
Noah?
Yeah, I'll be happy to go.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yes,
Yeah,
I wish
think
you guys-
indicated there's
Yes,
reason.
right. Unless you had questions for me, but
You may,
Chuck,
Check with
Rory,
people on
you
the phone,
guys,
too.
Rory?
I didn't have any.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
Everybody else
good.
does.
all right. Well, I wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Same
Happy
Thank
to you,
you.
holidays.
Camilla. Thanks for all your
Yes.
help.
Yeah, I'll see you New Year. Bye. Bye.
Action item number 1 is discussion and potential action regarding retroactivity of amendments to post-August 27, 2019 simulcast signal contracts. Is there anybody signed up to speak on this? Buzz? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Director. Buzz Alston, Turf Paradise. I passed out earlier, and I think you all have copies of it. It's various pieces of information about House Bill 2547 status. Some of this you've seen before, some of this perhaps you have not. For purposes of today, though, the agenda item is a discussion of the potential retroactivity of the House Bill aforementioned. And that's, if you'll notice in the very first page of what I gave you, it's a letter that I previously sent to the Director Casillas. And if you look at the third paragraph, I think this says all you need to know about the action on this item today. House Bill 2547 is set out above. There's no mention about contracts existing at the time of the enactment of HB 2547. Arizona has a statute, ARS 1-244, that specifically provides no statute is retroactive unless expressly declared therein. Both the Arizona and the United States Constitution guarantee there will be no law impairing the obligation of contracts. You can take a look at the Constitution in both of Arizona and the United States. While statutes normally apply prospectively, they may apply retrospectively when the legislature has clearly expressed that intention. And the statute does not impair a vested substantive right. So, long story short, you cannot, the legislature didn't make it retroactive, they didn't say it was retroactive, you haven't got the power to make it retroactive. Just can't be done. So they really, I've got nothing more to say about that. And you don't have to read the rest of the stuff, although it'll be good background for you at some leisurely time.
All right. Right after I read the Constitution.
You were trying to fall asleep one night?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
I do. The reason I put this on is I'm not arguing with what you just read and the retroactivity portion, my question was whether when that contract comes up for renewal or extension, is that a new contract or is that an old one? Because you could just continue extending ad infinitum the prior existing contract, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the statute, doesn't it?
Yeah, if that happened, it would. I think you're right. But what happens is, as I'm sure you recall, every time a contract is entered into a new one or a new existing one, it comes before you for approval. And you have to approve you can't just make the contracts run forever. It comes before this commission for approval. We have contracts out there now that run to 2021, 2022, I think. I'm not sure, but I think. And when that expiration date comes up, they will have to be a new contract, probably exactly the same, but a new contract with new beginning and new expiration date will be submitted to you for your approval.
Okay. Jay, you were,
No, I don't
Ask a
have,
question.
no, I have no question.
Mr. Kulish, Mr. Gore?
I'm good. I would just like to get a chance to read the document you submitted.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think I understood that Ms. Goodwin was faxing it to you guys or something like that.
No, I will
Yeah.
email it after the meeting.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you very much.
thanks, Buzz. Dave Author?
Dave Author for Arizona Downs. Just because I always disagree with what you folks have done, it looks like you put a metal detector down there.
Yeah, we're worried.
I've never accused you, I've never threatened anyone but I'm curious, why is that? Did something happen, Rudy, or?
No, it's
No, okay.
something that's been in the works for about 20 years.
Okay. Well, it looks like there's not going to be any disagreement with respect to amendments.
Excuse me. Gentlemen, can you please mute your phone? Thank you.
We don't particularly care about all of the contracts that are in effect for other tracks. The only contract that we cared about was the Monarch one. It was the only one that's boycotting us. The Monarch contract expires by its terms at the end of this year in a week or so. It lists all of the meets which are applicable to that particular contract. There's no reference in there to any kind of an amendment. So I would expect that when new contracts are issued by Monarch for new meets that are run in 2020, including any of these that may be before us today, because it's not clear to me what particular Monarch contract is being referred to with respect to the meets which are before you to be approved. But if there are any in there that are not covered by the 2019 contract, I can tell you that Monarch has not offered those meets to us in all of our OTBs. Consequently, those cannot be approved by you because it's a violation of the statute under any reading of retroactivity or not. Nevertheless, I think you should know something about this retroactivity argument, which was sort of sprung on us a meeting or two ago. First of all, under the Interstate Horse Racing Act, you are allowed to reject or to not consent to any upcoming meet or any simulcast. You don't need a statute. You don't even need a reason. So I just want everyone to understand on the commission that the reason you didn't disapprove all of these meets that we've been objecting to since August 27th was because you didn't want them. You didn't want to disapprove them. It wasn't because the statute didn't allow you. It wasn't because the statute was retroactive or not retroactive. You had the power since about 1978 to reject or accept simulcast contracts. So to the extent there's been any misunderstanding that our hands are tied, or what are we going to do, you chose not to reject them, even though we asked for it for about a year and a half. So when we get a letter from Buzz who says this in his first paragraph: under the terms of the legislation dealing with simulcast signals sent to OTBs, HB 2547, the Racing Commission was given some certain limited powers. For the first time, the commissioners were given the power to approve or disapprove simulcast contracts. If you were a first-year law student, you would be flunked out for making that statement. You have had the right to approve or disapprove simulcast contracts for 40 years. So it's incorrect to say that this law had anything to do with whether or not you could approve or disapprove the contracts. What this law did was inserted a condition to your approval. And that condition was you must disapprove them if those simulcast contracts are not offered to all permittees. That's the particular condition that was inserted, but you've always had an opportunity to reject them for any reason. So let's not misunderstand what's going on. You folks have chosen not to do what we've asked you to do, and you've chosen not to do what the legislature asked you to do. Good, bad, or indifferent, but that's what's happened.
Seems to me like we've chosen to act in the best interest of horse racing. We'd like to have you guys get the Monarch signal, but we don't want to eliminate any simulcast contract. For me personally, I don't want to eliminate any simulcast contract from anybody. I'd like for you to have all the contracts from every signal provider, but I'd also like for Turf Paradise to have all the contracts.
Well,
So,
as Jerry Sims always says, I'd like to be 6'5", but it's not going to happen.
well, but you're...
They will
so-
not give us the signal unless you do something to motivate them to give us the signal. And Jay, let's, Commissioner McClintock, let's look at the data we have so far. One time, you folks enforced this rule. And what happened? Breeders' Cup came. You said, we're not sending the signal to Arizona because you have to send it to all OTBs. And what happened? They sent it to all the OTBs. They sent it to all of our OTBs. The only time you guys have done what we've asked you to do, it worked. And now, now there's this concern that if you do it again, and if you do what the statute and what the legislature, those 80 people decided, not these 4, if you do that, there's this concern, oh my God, they're not going to send us the signal. You've had testimony from Bob Hutton, I don't know if Bob's here, who said, hey guys, they're going to send the signal. You think the horsemen at Gulfstream and in California and others, when told that Durutti has picked a fight with the guys at Arizona Downs, and because of that, you're going to lose 60 OTB opportunities that Turf Paradise has, and they're going to walk away from that. That's not going to happen. And that's not me saying that. That's the guys in the business. I'm a neophyte in the whole deal. So I understand, Jay, and I'm not necessarily questioning your motivations, but the decisions you've made, in our opinion, in all due respect, have been contrary to what you're trying to do. What has actually happened is you're slowly but surely putting a multi-million-dollar business in the toilet. And that's horse racing during the summer, because you've got this idea that somehow obeying the law as written, forcing Monarch to do business, is going to wreck horse racing or something. It's already close to wrecking it in Prescott, I can tell you that. I mean, you need to know, and I think you guys know that, the only way we make any money during the off-season is through OTBs. That's it. The only way, well, we can have a wedding reception up at the track. We can sell some tequila, but that's it. So when we slowly shrink that OTB market, and we have to close one, and then we got to close another, because it costs us more to run it than we're making in handle. And I don't know how else to describe what's been going on, but addressing this retroactive concept anyway, the big picture. You folks, since God knows when, have been approving simulcast contracts as they come up. Future simulcast contracts as they come up. It's only some goofball theory that Council for Turf Paradise has. It says you're doing anything retroactively. You're approving contracts that are coming in the future. That's what the statute talks about, and that's what you're doing. Greg Stiles, for a generation, or however long he's been there, gets a pile of paperwork a week or so before the meet, goes through it all, and approves it. You guys apparently now, under Rudy's direction, get a pile of paper, look through it, and approve it for future meets. It's the same thing. The statute hasn't changed that. There's nothing retroactive about any of this stuff. Unfortunately, I've lost that argument, and you had to put up the metal detectors for the last year, 3 months, I suppose. It's probably not going to make a huge difference now, because all of the new contracts, even you guys are going to have to agree, are subject to the new statute, I would think. But, and let me just say one more thing. The position the commission is taking, that it is improper to impair a previous contract, came directly from the brief that Monarch has filed. The guys who are suing you and you and you on the phone and you and Rudy and everybody, that's their argument. You can't do it. And then then we went out and hired a lawyer, Pat Irvin, and he's making the opposite argument. He's making the argument that I'm making, that it's not impairing a contract, and even if it is, it's permitted as an exception to that general rule because it's a heavily regulated industry. So here we have the Arizona State Racing Commission undermining their own lawyer's argument by taking the position that somehow it's impairing a previous contract when your own lawyer is saying it's not. It's Alice in Wonderland stuff. You can't do that. And if it's based upon, we didn't know why you were doing it, so we did a FOIA, what do you call it? Free market request or that FOIA request, Freedom of Information thing. And so we get this 2-page letter from Buzz, and I'm looking at it and I go, this isn't accurate. I mean, there's nothing in here that's right. He says the Constitution, sure, there's some blah, blah, blah about the Constitution, impairment of contracts, but that's the issue in the lawsuit. And then he cites a case with a malpractice claim and tries to argue that that's the same thing. I mean, it's a joke. But with all due respect to counsel, I mean, we have our own lawyers sitting here. They must have read it and laughed. It's incorrect law. And you shouldn't be relying on it. You should talk to your own lawyers who are making the argument. So, back to square one. Tom, you asked, Commissioner Lawless,
You can call me Tom.
All right, you've asked us to tell you what we think of the amendment scam that we thought might be coming. Oh, we've just amended the contract, and now it goes back to 2018. And in 2021, we'll amend it back to 2019. Council for Turf Paradise has indicated they're not going to do that, so that's fine. As of right now, when these contracts come up, they are subject to the new law, just like the Breeders' Cup contract was. I assume everybody's going to agree with that. And the only thing we have to find out now is whether or not these contracts that are coming up, and maybe Greg knows, are subject to the new contract or the old one. And once we figure that out, we think even if it's under the old one, you shouldn't do it. But I've lost that 3 months in a row. But certainly for the new ones, you can't do it. Any questions?
Now, it looks like the two that are on here today, though, are not Monarch tracks.
Well, there's a whole list. What did I do with the Cassie? do you have-
Item 3, item 3A and 3B list specific tracks.
Okay.
There's
Roll
Santa
down to it.
Anita, there's,
Well, we would approve, I mean, I would vote to approve those tracks for you.
we don't get it.
Well,
I don't know how it got into the, here's our problem. We get the Monarch tracks up at we get Monarch up at the track, but we don't get any of our OTBs. That was the reason that the statute was passed, to say that it has to go to all the OTBs. Our agent, Naira, submits whatever's coming up without regard to whether or not it's legal or illegal to approve those. But if those particular Monarch contracts, or those simulcasts coming into the future, are not part of under your interpretation of the law, not part of the 2019 overall contract, then they have to be, then you cannot consent to those. And we would waive our request to have them at the track also. We have to, we don't have any choice. But if Monarch was to offer those to us, then there's not a problem. And we would take them. So the you know what is hitting the fan today. And today is decision day, I think, on those contracts which are not covered and those simulcast meets that are not covered by the earlier contract. So,
And they come up at the end of the month?
the contract, I have a copy of the Monarch contract with us, and it, there's an Exhibit A at the front, and for Santa Anita, it says, all meets commencing between December 25, 2018 and November 15, 2019. Now, I don't know if the Santa Anita meet that's being contemplated for approval commenced November, but you would know, Jay.
starts December 26th.
Okay, it's no good. It's contrary to the existing statute unless that simulcast is offered to all signatories, to all permittees. This contract, by its terms, expires on Santa Anita for any meets commencing between December 25 of 18 and November 15 of 19. I don't know the answer to, and I'm a little bit unprepared for that. Maybe Tom knows a little bit more about that. The isn't there a Los Alamitos on that list too?
Yeah.
Where's my
Santa Anita, Golden Gate, Los Al.
Right.
They're all,
Los Al, it says, all thoroughbred fair races conducted between December 6th of 18 and December 16 of 19. So unless this thing starts on between now and the 16th, it is not part of the existing contract under the Arizona Racing Commission interpretation of the retroactivity of the statute. And therefore, it's part of some later contract, which by its terms would be affected by the new law. and again, I'm not gonna snow you. If the judge says something different, and says the law's no good, I'll be the first one to walk in there and say we're screwed. But he hasn't. In fact, he said, I'm not gonna rule on anything. You guys are on your own until I do. So, and I know you guys agree with that because you enforce the statute with respect to the Breeders' Cup. So I know you know that the statute is in effect. You just disagree on, on the contract question. What's the other race that's being approved? Somebody have Laurel's also Laurel is Maryland Jockey Club. All races conducted except Preakness and Blue-Eyed Susan between January 1, 19 and December 31 of 19. So I don't know when the Laurel Park meet starts.
I don't know either. It's a long meet.
Okay.
I think they're running now.
They are.
Well, it says races conducted before December 31, 2019. That's the contract term. So we've got, and I know this is section 2. This is the next topic, but I'm just letting you know that you can't approve those, even under the retroactive concept that you folks have adopted for this. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Correa, I do have a question. It's not really, it is regarding this whole issue. And when the Monarch thing came up originally, it was one of my questions. And as I was going through some of the documents we received the other day, I was reading, I believe it was Nolan Thompson, statements in court, and I want to read them right now. The question was, why is it important to the Department of Racing that owners of racetracks have licenses? Answer, well, one of the most important things is that it's a pari-mutuel wagering that occurs at the racetrack. It's highly regulated. We want to ensure, as regulators, that all parts of the industry, from management down, are correctly regulated. The owners and managers of tracks negotiate contracts with other vendors that bring in tote information so that bettors can make decisions of whether they want to spend their money. My question has still been, why are the likes of Monarch not licensed? Are they not participants in our sport in Arizona?
It's a good question. Does anybody know the answer? I mean, are they regulated in California? Are they regulated in Kentucky? Are they regulated in Florida? Who knows? We'd have to find out.
Okay.
And I would like, at some point in time, if the staff could research this and get back to us, because I do think this is a possible loophole. We've got a participant that's not licensed.
We'll take care of that.
Did you hear that, Chuck? Or was that Rory? Rory,
That
did
was
you hear
Rory.
that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Terry Sims, Turf Paradise. There's some misunderstanding of some terms here, and they're being intermixed, and I'm sorry, no disrespect, but council that was up here just isn't familiar. There's a big difference between a meet and a contract. Big difference between a meet and a contract. If you notice, you're being asked under this new law to approve meets, not contracts. They're meets. It's a new meet that they're bringing. The only new contract was with Colonial Downs. The previous council was in air, Breeders' Cup, and Monarch didn't fold under this and say, okay, we'll give them the Breeders' Cup. That's not what occurred. I spoke to the head of the Breeders' Cup, and he is the one that is in charge of this. It has nothing to do with Monarch. The only thing Monarch did is facilitate contracts. The contracts went through Monarch. But this was given out by the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup wanted everybody to accept it, to be offered it. Had nothing to do with you saying no to Monarch and Monarch folding. Had nothing to do with that. It just didn't have anything to do with it. It was the Breeders' Cup that said we're going to give that, and you're welcome to call them. I've got a number. And you're welcome to call them if anybody wants to and ask them, the head of the Breeders' Cup. Addressing the bigger issue that we're here for, we have a contract. I don't know if the other council, if Dave Arthur knows or not, but our contract, not me, our contract with Monarch goes until May of 2021. That contract goes till May of 21. Any of their tracks that come up, the contract is already approved. These are just the new meets that they're running. That's why they call them meets. They don't say we have a new contract for Santa Anita. It's a new meet for Santa Anita. It's a new meet for Laurel. They are meets. They are not contracts. The contract is what we have with Monarch that goes until 2021. That's why Buzz stating no retroactivity, had they put in that contract, in that new law rather, in 2547, HB 2547, had they put that in, that it is retroactive to a certain time frame, that would have made a difference, because then our contract, we'd have to go back to Monarch and say, Monarch, you have to either give this to everybody or nobody. And I know their answer. It was what they've told us is, Jerry, I'm sorry, we're going to give it to nobody. We're not going to change how we do business and let all these other states have the ability to then ask for the same thing. We're not going to do it. That's what he's told me.
I wonder,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jay.
I just wonder if there's any other racetrack operator in the country that they deny their signal to.
I don't know. I can tell you we're not getting it from Prescott Isle. Churchill's not giving us that. I don't hear anybody jumping up and down and complaining. But we didn't get it. They just finished their meet a month ago and we didn't get it. To answer your question, Jay, I don't know. I don't know. That's the answer to that. But I can tell you that we have a contract, not a meet. We have a contract with Monarch until May of 21, until the end of our permit.
Without exercising any extensions, there's
No.
no affirmative action on your
No,
part?
it goes straight through till May of 21, our contract does. And so all the tracks they have, those are meets that come up. When you're asked to approve something, you're approving a new meet. The only one that was a new contract this year or last year was Colonial Downs had a new track run, and that was a new contract. Everything else is just a new meet, and that's how the department gives them to you as their extensions or amendments to their, just a new meet. But there's nothing new about Santa Anita, there's nothing new about Laurel. Those are meets that come up. Not, we have a contract, those are meets. Any questions? Okay. I'm sorry this is going on, I'm just trying to interpret it up here.
Yeah, well, we're sympathetic. I keep saying we. I'm sympathetic to Arizona Downs' plight. I mean, I don't want you not to have the Monarch signal, but I really would like for them to have it.
I understand. We want them to be successful. I know they don't believe that, but we want them to be successful because my horsemen want to go there. And when my horsemen are happy and they come back and they've not had to pay for shipping to go other places, I'm happy about that. But under the way it is, I can't control Monarch, and we do have a contract till May of 21 with Monarch. It's really pretty simple. These are just new meets that come up for renewal. If you were tasked to approve under the 2547.
Can you help us come up with a plan? Something, I don't know.
We've sat down, I'm going to say 10 times. Rudy has called meetings where we tried to see ways we could work it out. It didn't get them everything they wanted, but it got them part of what they wanted. And we all said, why not take part of it? Take the part of it that you can get. And they've said no. So,
Okay. yes.
Tom, you need to sign in.
I am signing.
Okay.
Tom Author for Arizona Downs. A couple of things. One, it's our understanding that in the past, the Breeders' Cup signal was controlled by the Breeders' Cup. And for the first time this year, it was controlled by the track that held the Breeders' Cup. That track was Santa Anita, and it's Monarch. And so it's our understanding that Monarch spoke with the Breeders' Cup and said, go ahead and release the signal. And unless I'm wrong on that, I mean, Greg, is that, was this, typically the Breeders' Cup handles their own signal, but we were told this year it was handled by the track owners.
I do believe that was correct.
So the decision was ultimately Monarch's to release the signal. Secondly, I'm almost baffled why we're even approving these tracks. I think we've heard from you guys that this contract retroactivity controls. So why, since we're renewing, your job is to renew meets, approve or disapprove meets, not necessarily contracts. If we've been told since August 27th that you cannot deny somebody's meet because the contract's in place, why do we now have these meets coming up that you need to approve? Why can't you just say, I'm sorry, there's already a contract in place, we can't disapprove it? Is the only reason you can't disapprove a meet because it's based upon our HB 2547? I think that's, to come down to what Dave's, I think it's really a case of deciding that you didn't want to approve it. I don't think your hands are tied. That's my personal opinion, and I'm no lawyer. But you know, why are we approving any meets if those contracts are in place? What gives you the ability retroactively to disapprove those meets when you're stating that you can't disapprove them based upon HB 2547?
I'd like to know that too. I don't know why we're approving individual meets.
Well, because it says in this law, the simulcast must be offered each commercial live racing permittee in this state and additional wagering facility in this state. It's about the simulcast signal. It's not about the contract. If you read it, what you're, and I may look to Greg on this, what you're approving or disapproving is the meet. It's not the contract. Every time these meets come forward, you're asked to approve them. And I would say, just as an example, if one track is killing too many horses or whatever, you don't like the way, the ownership, you could say, we're not approving this. That's your, so regardless, every reason, any reason is every reason. You guys cannot approve them. So that's one thing I would bring up. I also think that this retroactivity, I hate to even bring it up, but it's, you know, if you look into the law, it's really relative to punishment and penal law, where you cannot go back and punish somebody for doing something that was legal when they did it. It's not, I mean, look at prohibition. They didn't say, I got a contract to sell booze to Bugsy here, and I'm gonna keep selling it because that's, you know, or this new vaping law. They're not gonna say, when they say vaping's disallowed to somebody under 21, which they'll probably do, they're not gonna say, sorry, you already have it, you can keep doing it. It's just, you know, forever. So it just seems kind of nonsensical. And this concept where we just keep extending these contracts, so we have a contract in perpetuity, you know, just, we think that's ridiculous. But anyway, that's the only thing I would say. I think right now, with our contract coming up, Monarch has to send us a contract and approve and let us. It's really not impeding they still have the ability to sign with. If Monarch on their own elects to not send them the signal, you're not interfering with their contract. That's just something Monarch has decided to do. They've got to offer us the signal, and if they don't offer us the signal, then they've violated the statute. So. Anyway, that's really all I have to say. If anybody has any questions, those are just a couple points I wanted to stress. And thanks for sitting through all this, guys.
I agree with you that an extension of an existing contract should be treated as a new contract. But I'm hearing that that's not the case here, that their pre-August contract doesn't require any further action for expiration until 2021. How do we reconcile that?
Well, I think, first off, we think that this retroactive argument is not valid. I'm sure the legislature, and I hate to have to go back and clarify this again, but I'm sure their intention was to say exactly what it says. If you don't send it to everybody, nobody gets it. So, the other thing is it's really not the contract. As Mr. Sims said, you're asked to approve or disapprove meet by meet. Otherwise, why do these meets continue to come up for approval when there's a contract behind them? It's because it's your responsibility. Something could occur after that contract that would make you say, we don't want to approve the meet this time. So it's these meet by meet approvals and in the law, it mentions simulcast signal. It doesn't say contracts, it says simulcast signal. So that's really what you're called upon to approve or disapprove. The contracts, are somewhat irrelevant as these renewals go. Otherwise, why are we constantly approving or disapproving signals when there's an underlying contract in place? So that's, any questions? Otherwise, I'll sit down.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Jerry Sims, Church Paradise, I can answer that question. Before there was a Monarch, which isn't that long ago in history, before there was a Churchill Downs selling for other tracks, each track was separate. Then when Monarch came into the being, there are still many tracks that you'll be asked to approve or not approve that are not part of a group. They're not handled by Monarch or Churchill Downs or New York Racing. There are plenty of tracks that are separate, and they used to all be separate. We used to always have to get a separate one for Golden Gate or Laurel. But when they started to purchase tracks and also have management contracts like we have with Monarch, that's when. But the law was always to do with meets. But it used to be more separate meets. You will still, again, I'm saying this again, you'll still get tracks to come up that aren't part of anybody's grouping where they have a management contract.
Dave Johnson, Assistant General Manager, Turf Paradise, Chairman, Commissioners, Director of States. I do want to just touch on what was said about the Breeders' Cup. And as you know, we all went through a pretty big struggle with that. There was a lot of questions as to what we were going to end up doing. And I know that what Tom said is accurate. It was those contracts were delegated over to Monarch at the time. Monarch had made it very clear they were not going to sell the Breeders' Cup to Arizona Downs at their OTB network. They were going to give it to the track, but not to the OTB network. And they had made that very clear. It wasn't until, I know Jerry Sims, me, and Vince had reached out and called the Breeders' Cup people themselves to ask them, can we do this? Can you guys give everybody a contract directly through you, not through Monarch, but through you guys, so that we can go ahead and get the Breeders' Cup distributed in Arizona? That changed. So if you see what you did approve, you ultimately ended up approving a Breeders' Cup contract. It wasn't a Monarch agreement. It was a Breeders' Cup agreement. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, because it's said that Monarch caved, and that's not actually the case. Monarch wasn't going to sell it, and we know that. And it wouldn't have come into Arizona if it didn't come through the Breeders' Cup. And I just spoke with Mr. Dave Arthur, and one of the things that I had suggested, but it seems that they've already gone down that route, is if you're so convinced that these other tracks are going to be upset, then why don't you go to the tracks individually? This is very common in the industry. A lot of times we can't get an agreement with a Twin Spires. Like, for example, Twin Spires did not want to sell Turf Paradise, the Presque Isle Downs, or Louisiana Downs race meets. they were blocked. They were part of their agreement, they said, no, you can't have it, we're not gonna sell them to you. So we went individually to those tracks and said, would you sell us directly? And that's another way of going about this. Now, apparently Dave Barker said that they've done that, I don't know for sure, but that would be one route I would suggest for them. But as Jerry said, we didn't get the Presque Isle Downs signal. Presque Isle said, no, we don't care, we're not gonna sell you the signal. But Louisiana Downs did. Louisiana Downs came to the table and they signed a separate agreement with us that wasn't through Twin Spires. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
May I just clear up that one point?
Sure.
You look glad to see me.
Have you gone
Since
through
the-
the metal?
Yeah, I went through the metal detector.
Okay.
From the very start, we've approached Del Mar, for instance, and all of the tracks that are not owned by Stronach. We've also approached the ones, I think, in sort of timidly, the ones owned by Stronach. And guess what the answer has been when Stronach owns Monarch? No, you can't have our signal. We'd be fine to do it the way they did it with the Breeders' Cup. If Breeders' Cup somehow was its own entity, then they made a deal with us, fine. If Del Mar would make a deal with us, if all the tracks would make a deal with us, but the Monarch people won't let them do it, or they'll kick them out of their little club that they own all these rights to, and the $100,000 they get from them. So, and then finally on the Breeders' Cup question, you said it was the Breeders' Cup contract. I received a Monarch contract that allowed us to have it up at the track. And then when we had this controversy, I received a Breeders' Cup contract. And the only words that were changed was Monarch to Breeders' Cup. So those guys were in cahoots. They knew what was going on. They knew they were going to get, Jay might have even called those guys. I can't remember what pressure you all put to get the Breeders' Cup contract for us. I don't know who did it. I don't know if Dave or Jerry or Vince called. It doesn't matter who did it, but that's what happened. The pressure from the commission through these folks who understood that they were not going to get that signal is what got the signal for us. Finally, I have a contract with Monarch that expires this week. I haven't seen their contract that allegedly goes on even longer, but as Tom and I've described, it's the same issue. There's no, you're approving under the statute, and you pulled it out, Christian, simulcasts that are coming. It's not going back to approve a contract that's already been approved, 30 times over the year. So that's all. No question?
No.
May I just, wow, let's get my steps. Dave Johnson, Turf Paradise, Assistant General Manager. I do want to just, I haven't seen the agreement between Monarch and Arizona Downs, but I am familiar with their contracts because every time they sign an agreement with everybody else on our behalf, I get a copy of it. And the language that is typically in those contracts is pretty much identical to the Twin Spires agreement. So while the contract where, like you say, it's covered, these tracks are covered under this means and so forth, I would be very, very surprised if it doesn't say in that contract, the language specifically saying something to the effect that the contract will be continued as long as, or the contract will just be extended as long as the host tracks allow you to continue wagering into their pools. It's the same thing that we have with Twin Spires. Twin Spires has never sent us a new contract, but they've always allowed us to continue to opt. They recognize the contract is still valid because in their terms and their clauses it says that this contract will remain in effect as long as we allow you to continue wagering. So I will be very surprised if you see a new agreement offered to Arizona Downs, just like Twin Spires has not given us a new agreement. But That doesn't mean that contract isn't in place. I'd be willing to bet. Like I said, that language is in there, and they will continue to allow them to wager. Accepting those wagers is confirmation that they agree that the contract is still in place.
In their OTBs?
Well, I don't think that contract allows it in the OTs, so.
I guess that's my point. Well, they're not gonna make it if they don't get it in their OTBs.
And I agree.
Well, I'm thoroughly confused.
You and me both. I think we could,
Move on.
yeah, I mean, we can act.
There's no action really taken on. Okay, moving to action item 2A. Simulcast signals for Arizona Downs. We have Sunland Park.
And I move we approve the simulcast signal for Sunland Park to Arizona Down.
Second.
Commissioner members, we'll have a discussion about the contract and how it's fitting into the statute. That's
Sure.
what it's in front of you for.
Contract, okay. Are we talking about contracts or meetings?
Well, the 5112 deals with simulcast agreements, so that's what it's in front of you pursuant to.
Correct. But from what I can see, it looked like the Sunland agreement met all the requirements.
Okay, this is Commissioner Garay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I agree with that. Does anyone?
Was there a motion made to approve it?
There was a motion and a second, but there's been no vote taken on this.
Shouldn't we be voting if there was a motion and a second?
Not necessarily. You can hold off on the vote and have your discussion. And then if somebody chooses, they can amend that motion or withdraw it.
Understood.
Thank
I
you.
see under 3 that Turf Paradise has a Sunland Park agreement. Has anybody analyzed the two to see if they're roughly equivalent?
At this current time, the division does not have that. I think Sunland Park, we have not had a submission by Turf Paradise at this point in time. I am told by Turf Paradise that they do have that agreement. I was told yesterday that. So it'll be forthcoming.
Well, can we, in light of the new statute, can we take action on Sunland Park until we compare the two contracts? Make sure the terms are roughly the same?
The commission could look to put this on a temporary hold if they wish to do that, to wait to get that contract to go forward. The commission could also take the contract as is today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in favor of impairing Arizona Downs. building.
No, I'm not either. I'm not either. I want to approve it.
Yeah, I guess my concern is I would like to see that both, if Sunland Park is providing Arizona Downs and Turf, that they're both providing to both OTBs.
Well, we can ask the authors if Sunland Park provides their contract, their signal to your OTBs also, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We have no objection to Turf or us getting the Sunland Park. Just to clear it all up, the only people that are treating us this way are the Monarch tribes. The rest of them, as long as they're okay with Greg and the division, they're okay with us.
Okay.
Thanks,
But
Dave.
let me caution you, commissioners, I don't want this just to be strictly a Monarch-only discussion. You need to treat everybody equally.
Right.
So you're looking at Sunland in the same view that you're looking at Monarch.
And that's why I brought it up.
Yep.
And I would agree. I mean, I'm a little cautious of approving one without seeing the other. Just at some point in time, someone will pull a fast one on us.
Why don't can we conditionally approve it pending review of the Turf Paradise one to make sure they're roughly comparable?
That is within the commission's purview, yes.
Why don't you make your motion?
I'd like to amend my motion to conditionally approve the Sunland Park simulcast agreement with Arizona Downs, pending seeing the Turf Paradise simulcast agreement with Sunland Park and making sure that they're identical.
So,
Reasonably.
And Commission, I apologize for interrupting again. Does the Commission also want to include any conditional approval based upon approvals by out-of-state horse racing associations and commissions receiving those approvals and through the department?
I don't know what that means.
Well, through the IHA, out-of-state commissions and out-of-state horse racing associations have to give approvals for the meets that are contained within the contract. So
Correct.
if the commission wants to also put that into place, noting that those agreements have to come in as well.
I don't really care. Rory, do you want to, why don't you make a motion?
Well, you
whatever
need-
What Dave wants to say
May I
something.
speak real quick?
Sure.
hang on a minute, can you withdraw your
I
motion?
withdraw my
Thank you.
motion.
Dave Johnson, Turf Paradise, and so we're talking about these contracts now, and again, I think what's our question and my question is, what are we referring to when we say comparable or comparable? Because it's important to understand that tracks are going to offer different tracks, different rates, based on volume, based on handle, based on what the reciprocal can be as well. Turf Paradise, so we offer, over $100 million to the out-of-state network. That's a reasonable thing for a track to look at that and say, because that, we're going to offer this rate. That may not be the case with Arizona Downs. So that's important to understand and important to consider.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, Commissioner Ray, for myself, I'm looking more that the out-of-state approvals are in place and that the signal is being granted to all the OTDs and that the rates are comparable, not exact, not outrageous.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, Rory, you want to make a motion?
Crap, I just lost my screen. There we go. I move to conditionally approve Sunland Park NCMS simulcast agreement with Arizona Downs, provided when the Sunland Park agreement comes in for Turf Paradise, that all the conditions of out-of-state agreement and OTBs to all OTBs are in place.
Second.
So that was Commissioner Lawless, the second. Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Then I, as Commission Secretary, will do the roll call. Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Okay. Action item 2B, Turf Paradise, the Aqueduct Winter 19 and 20 simulcast for Turf Paradise. Any discussion?
Is this one that Arizona Downs will be carrying at some point in time?
I think they are now, aren't you, Dave?
Yes.
And are you coming up for, I don't see it on here, are you coming up for approval as well?
For Aqueduct?
Yeah.
That is not on the bottom
Yeah,
list.
if we don't already have it, we will be. It's a NYRA
Right.
track, and that's our agent, so.
Okay.
So my concern here is that we are considering approving an agreement that I'm reading from 2014 into basically perpetuity. I'm wondering if we can actually have this agreement or the contract, excuse me, updated to 2020 or 2019, something in that realm. I don't think that we should get into this situation where we're just going through perpetual agreements, and I realize that might be an executive session conversation, and I'm not a lawyer, but I think that we should very strongly consider that.
Commission members, if I may, the Aqueduct contract does have an end date.
I'm sorry.
The Aqueduct contract does have a beginning and an end date. I believe that Commissioner Coolidge, you were maybe looking at the fairgrounds contract?
Maybe I'm mistaken with what I was looking at. I was looking at a 2014 Aqueduct agreement.
There is a lot of amendments that go through with the Aqueduct agreement. You have to scroll down quite a bit to get to the current one.
And that's a 2019 or 2020 agreement?
I believe so, yes.
Absolutely. This is not rocket science.
Dave Johnson, Turf Paradise, Chairman, Commissioners. I do want to respond to Commissioner Coolidge's comments. I do believe he was referring to the Fairgrounds agreement that is offered to us through Twin Spires. Twin Spires has decided that they do not want to reissue a new agreement, that they are comfortable going and operating under the old agreement. As I said, as it was written in the Monarch agreements and Twin Spires, both of those under where it says term of the contract, says that the contract can continue on the race meets that are covered, as long as the host tracks allow you to continue to wager, and that's confirmation that they are in agreement that the contract is still in place. We have been wagering on fairgrounds, and as I said, as they pick up new tracks, sometimes they will offer them to us, sometimes they do not. They have just picked up Turfway Park as a new partner, and we have just received a new addendum to that contract that is specific to Turfway Park, nobody else. But it falls under that same agreement, and they recognize that as the same agreement, and that agreement is still in place. That is proof of recognition of that is the fact that they continue to allow us to wager.
Thanks, Dave.
But they're not going to give us a new agreement, at least not right now.
Let me interject here. Twin Spires is a licensee of the department, and they will comply with the requirements regardless of what they believe if they want to continue to have their license in place. So they will get that done.
Thank you, sir.
So Twin Spires has a license with the department, but Monarch does not?
That's correct.
Why is that?
Doing account wagering.
Advanced deposit wagering.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to that.
Monarch, because Santa Anita, because Monarch or Stronach runs their account wagering through a separate entity?
Monarch's just providing the signal, and it's the track itself that's doing the...
Do they not own Express
Well,
Bet?
and let me, my verbiage there was not accurate. I was a little bit more vague than I should be. Twin Spires and it operates under CDI, Churchill Downs Incorporated, which is the contract that covers Fairgrounds and Churchill Downs and them exporting the signal to Arizona. Well, they are certainly part of the Twin Spires company. CDI is its own entity.
Twin Spires is part of CDI.
Yes.
CDI is a parent. Now, is the contract
Correct.
with CDI?
No,
For
our
simulcast or
contract
Twin
is
Spires?
with Churchill Downs Incorporated.
Right, to simulcast.
Yes.
But the off-track bet, the account wagering contract is with Twin Spires. And it's my, I don't know if this is true or not, but does not Stronach Group own ExpressBet?
Yes.
And they're separate, so we probably have a contract with ExpressBet. I mean, a license, they probably have a license, but Monarch doesn't.
If I can make a suggestion, and I would highly encourage this, especially after Mr. Casillas' comments, I think a letter from the department and the commission to CDI to bring a new contract forward would be helpful,
Okay,
and would be able to end this.
maybe we should send a letter to everybody who owns, then it kind of goes back to the licensing question. So you gotta have a license to take account wagering, but you don't have to have a license to provide a signal currently. Now, and Rory, sounds like would like to explore, so we're gonna explore whether other states require simulcast providers to be licensed by the state. That's okay. So that'll kind of answer those questions.
Thank you.
Commission members, if I may to turn your attention back to the Aqueduct contract, which is what this conversation started. The amendment dated in the last portion of the documents was November 19th, 2019, with an end date of January 15th, 2020.
Okay. I want to just ask a further question on the same subject. So I suppose NYRA-Bets has a license. We don't take NYRA-Bets?
Currently, NYRA-Bets is not an AEW that is supplied to the commission.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. So the NYRA obviously provides the signal for all the New York tracks, which is a separate deal, would be a separate deal. If NYRA
Which is not licensed.
Okay. All right. So we're back to action item C2B 1.
Yeah, Aqueduct. I think there's been a motion and a second, hasn't there? Okay.
No. I move we approve Aqueduct sending their signal to Turf Paradise for the winter 2019-2020 meet.
Second.
I'll give that to Commissioner Lawless. Okay, any further discussion, gentlemen?
I'm good.
Okay. Hearing none, the roll is Commissioner Coolidge,
Yep.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, action item C2B2 is approval of the Fairground Winter Meet simulcast. Fairgrounds.
Anybody have any discussion about this?
From what I can see, everything looks to be in order.
Okay, I move we approve the Fairgrounds Winter Meet simulcast signal being sent to Turf Paradise.
Second.
Any further discussion, gentlemen?
I'm good.
Okay, then on the roll call, Commissioner Coolidge,
Yep.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to action item C3, discussion and potential action regarding late December 2019 and January 2020 simulcast signals. Arizona Downs. Do we have to do one at a time?
No, you want to go ahead?
Commission members, we put those all in kind of a bulk. So submission to you because there are not contracts that are presented to the department for your review and consideration. I would note that Louisiana Downs and the Arizona Downs string of tracks is already taken care of in a previous contract, so that one doesn't need to be dealt with. But these contracts, or these tracks and these meets that are coming up are ones that contracts have not been submitted for the commission's review.
Okay, well,
Yeah, my concern here is that, you know, while I understand this is a new process and, you know, everybody's trying to get their heads around it, we don't have any of those actual agreements in front of us. So, at least speaking for myself, I'm not comfortable approving anything until, you know, going into the next meeting. And I would like to say, you know, we should have all those contracts in our hands at least 2 weeks before our next meeting so that we can get these agreements done.
Yeah, I thought.
Exactly. I think in the last meeting we had discussion about that because we need to be given some time to review them ourselves before we have discussion and voting during the meeting.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Last meeting, we did put a 2-week time frame on it prior to. And so we have none of these? Okay.
okay, Dave, yeah.
Identify yourself, get on the
Dave
record.
Johnson,
Thank you.
Paradise. I briefly touched on this at the last commission meeting, and I know that the department has a strong feeling, but the way that our commission meetings are scheduled and the way simulcast entities operate, most of these racetracks have not even sent out their contracts yet, and regulatory bodies haven't even met to give approvals yet. To take a position like this, I really caution everybody here, we will do detrimental damage to the industry if we have to wait until the next racing commission meeting to take these signals. It's, most of these tracks, they don't start for several weeks. A lot of these contracts are, that the ones that are in place are being negotiated. Regulatory bodies, like I said, have not even offered their approvals yet and probably won't come until the last minute. If we keep taking this position, there will be no simulcast in Arizona anywhere. And that would devastate this industry. It would kill it. And everybody knows that. Because the majority of the money that goes to the horsemen and purses and the racetracks comes, that's the primary source. So I just really would ask that what you have before you are racetracks that either are getting ready to send out contracts that are waiting on regulatory approvals they're going to come. We know they're going to come. It's just their commissions meet at a different time. At least give a conditional approval until those things are in place.
So you're asking us to approve these today? I mean,
At least conditionally, so that we can still at least import them until all the paperwork is in order.
yeah.
Because I know you don't have it in front of you, and unfortunately, you're not going to get it in front of you until probably right before the end of the year. So, I mean, unless we want to keep having special meeting after special meeting, and it just doesn't make it. I understand you guys don't have anything to look at, so what are you actually approving, and that's very difficult, but.
And we have a new statute that we're trying to comply
Right.
with.
But here we go. I mean, are we just going to cut all simulcast to the state?
No,
Because that's what's going to.
we don't want to do that. We're in favor of you
And so I
guys
would just
simulcasting
ask-
everything you want to simulcast.
So I would
Both
just ask,
trains, all 3 trains.
let's.
I like your idea of a conditional approval
Okay.
pending the paperwork.
Commission members, I would ask that it be a temporary approval since you don't
Yes.
have the
Okay.
commission, the contract.
Okay.
Isn't that a conditional approval?
Okay.
Or should I say temporary?
Temporary is time
Okay,
specific.
Jake, go for it.
I'd like to, can we approve them as a blanket? Do we have to
All
do
the
it
items,
individually?
all the tracks listed in,
Item A,
38.
I'd like to, I move that we approve all the tracks listed in item 3A temporarily for Arizona Downs.
Second.
Commissioner, do you want to put an end date on that, like the next commission meeting?
Would it be safe that we'll have all the paperwork 2 weeks prior to the January meeting? Okay.
We don't, but the reality is we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're always at the mercy of the out-of-state entity.
I'd have then an addendum to Jay's, just saying till the next meeting at which we'll revisit whether or not we have all the paperwork.
Second.
Okay.
And that would be the next meeting scheduled for January 9th.
Yes.
Okay, you want to take roll?
Any other further discussion? Mr. Coolidge, any thoughts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I'll do the roll. Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock? Okay, then these are temporarily approved until the January 9th, 2020 meeting, at which time we will revisit this depending on contracts that have come in or not. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next is B, 3B Turf Paradise, and I'd entertain a motion to temporarily approve those.
So moved. I move we approve item 3B, Turf Paradise's simulcast contract with the tracks listed in item 3B.
Temporarily until the next meeting,
Temporarily.
at which time it'll be revisited.
And the next meeting is
depending
January.
on paperwork.
Okay, and the next meeting is January 9th,
Yes,
2020.
and the next
Okay,
meeting is January 9th, 2020.
thank you. So Commissioner Coolidge?
Have you heard on that one?
Sure.
Sure. For these guys.
I just want to make it clear that we typically wouldn't care about the ones that are non-monarch, but I don't know that there ought to be a sense of the group that if there isn't a provision in these contracts that are coming up with respect to Monarch that offers it to all of our OTBs, then we would expect you to, and ask you to not approve those.
Well,
I
that's why
understand
we're
it's coming up later.
That's why we're temporarily approving, because if they don't give you one, that's not complying with the new law.
I guess we'll just have to see when
And Mr. Arthur, I know myself, that'll be one of the things I will be looking at when we get the contract in hand.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't want to be acquiescing to something that we weren't, so thank you.
Sure.
Jerry Sims, that's exactly going backward to what we spent 51 minutes on this morning. They will not, if they're not offered by the Monarch tracks to Arizona Downs OTBs, we have a contract that gives us until May of 21 on those. So they will, if they don't give it to them, and I suspect nothing will change unless there's an answer from that court in 2 months.
But isn't that in violation of the statute?
Not at all, but that's what.
How do you figure, Jerry?
Because
They don't have a contract, you have a contract. They're coming into our state and not offering it to Arizona Downs, and they're offering it to you under an old contract.
That old contract goes through May of 21.
I know what you're saying, but
That new law doesn't
they're
protect-
violating the law.
No, they're not, because the law is,
Okay.
that's what buzzes paper in yellow. It is not retroactive. It would have to say it in the law that this was specifically retroactive. It is not retroactive. What you're saying would be as if it was retroactive. And it's not. We have a contract till May of 21. Between now and then, if you check the law, read these, what he's referring to in in US statutes and in the Arizona statutes, unless it's in the law, it says it's retroactive, and it doesn't.
I know, but it goes back to when that contract was entered into, we didn't have this law.
Correct, and you can't make it retroactive to that period.
I'm not making it retroactive.
Well, you are. See, I don't mean to be argumentative, I'm just saying.
You're being argumentative.
What kind of need, because I have to explain to you that That's what this law specific, that's what this statute says.
I
You can't
read
make
it, Jerry.
You can't make it retroactive. You can't say, well, we're gonna apply the new law to our contract. Our contract was before it, and they can't, it goes to May of 21, and there's nothing in this new law that says it's retroactive. You can't change
I
it.
understand your point.
It's a law.
If I could just interject here, we don't have these contracts before us yet, so I think we're arguing stuff that we haven't even had a chance to look at and discuss, and I think we should hold off until such point in time.
Well, I think Dave and Jerry are pointing out that we may never have a Monarch contract for Arizona Downs in front of us.
That's correct, and if you don't, that's their issue. Our issue is we've got a contract through May of 21. Just nothing that can change that, and you can't make this retroactive, because if it's not retroactive in the law, if it doesn't say it's retroactive, you can't all of a sudden at a commission meeting decide, we're gonna make that retroactive. Can't do it.
So they can violate the law because there was,
They're not violating it, because the law doesn't say it's retroactive.
well, they are by their actions going forward.
But that, past 2021 May, you'd be correct. After May of 21, you'd be absolutely correct. But until the end of that contract, this law does not go retroactive. So the laws that are in place are not violating it. If they did a new law, and if they did a new contract in May of 21, that would have to come before you because of the new law.
Okay, well, I think by the motion and the second that we've done, we have till January 9th.
But I just don't want there to be some anticipation that by January 9th, they're not being offered them at their OTBs. That's not a violation of this law because our contract was in place. So I don't want there to be an anticipation of, gee, let's see what it says in January 9th. Because unless the court makes a decision, I don't see there being a change. Thank you.
I just don't want to see Arizona Downs go out of business.
I don't either. We'd like them to be there, but you know, I'm going to just speak to a conversation that I had with Tom Arthur. I had a conversation with him where I said to him that it was a business decision. We both have real estate. I've got some real estate holdings a little bit. He's got real estate holdings. I said to him, I said, you know, I made a conscious decision to put money into Turf Paradise from my real estate. Right now, Turf Paradise owes me over $8 million, or right about $8 million that I've put in. I said to Tom Arthur, I said, Tom, you made a conscious decision, and your partners, not to do that. And he said, yeah, we did it. That's a business decision. If they want to step up and put money in their business, they have it. They just don't have it in the racetrack, is what he explained. It's in the real estate. If they don't want to take real estate money and put it in there, that's a business decision. I've gone ahead and did the other, or else I'd be standing up here saying the same thing. I'd say Turf Paradise can't go on, even with the simulcast. We can't run that overhead and do it. So it's just a business decision. I don't want to see them go out, but they made a business decision. They weighed the pros and cons, and that's their business decision.
Well, let's let's go ahead and vote on this issue. Hope Santa brings something.
Until we have the contract, we have nothing to discuss on these contracts. Agreed.
Okay, so I had a motion that was made by Commissioner Lawless. Do I have a second to the motion to approve it on a temporary basis until the next meeting on January 9th, 2020?
I second the motion.
Okay. And I'll do the roll. Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
What's the pin on this thing?
Pardon me? Oh.
Good. Take mine. I'm not using it.
Okay. Item C4, discussion and potential action regarding Turf Paradise request to have live race day on December 20th, 2019.
Okay, well, Turf Paradise has now lost three racing days due to weather. Four? Numbers are going up. Anyway, I think that they should be able to make up lost days, and that's what this is all about. They want to add a day on December 20th, which would normally be a dark day. I'm hoping they'll come back and want to add 3 more days later to make up for the days that they've lost. That's what this is all about, so.
Jump in here, Jay.
Okay.
I appreciate the fact that you're wanting to allow them to make up lost days. However, by doing so, it puts the division of racing in a bad place, because adding days to the weeks that are already filled, it means that I have to pay staff time and a half, which I don't have a budget for. And I've talked to Mr. Sims about this matter. I'm in agreement to allow 1 day in December, but going forward, I would have to look at our budget. And I can't just arbitrarily say, yeah, have all the days you want.
Okay, well, we're
So
really,
take that into
okay.
consideration.
But we're only talking about 1 day right now.
That's correct.
Yeah. And you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. I move we allow Turf Paradise to add a live day on December 20th, 2019 to make up for a day they lost previously.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, gentlemen?
I'm good with it. I'm just also wondering, in the future, as we plan the next season, if there's ways to add in makeup days so that everyone is aware of what might come should there be rainy days.
I mean, I think the problem, we approved a certain number of days for them to race, but if it's going to cause the department hardship or not to be able to operate, then certainly we don't want to do that. So, yeah, we'll have to look at
Well, I was just wondering, for like the department, especially with the budget, that like next
Right.
season, if there could be some days put in there that are makeup days, so everyone's just aware that if there is bad weather, there's going to be a makeup day in the department. Everyone can plan for that if it does happen.
yeah, let's,
We
I
can
mean,
have
we'll
further discussions at a
Yeah.
later time regarding that matter.
check with the school corporation and see what they do.
Okay, I will proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to allow Turf Paradise to add a live race day on December 20th, 2019 to make up for the lost ones recently.
Okay, moving on to item D, information reports. Greg, safety report?
Yes, since our November meeting, staff has met with Turf Paradise Management, and there's a new program in place where staff will continue to meet on a bi-weekly basis with Turf Paradise Management, and also Rito and as well as Arizona Downs Management when those seasons are in. So we'll talk about backside issue, actually tour the backside, and come to agreement on what safety issues it may be, so there'll be no surprises going forward. As mentioned last month, potholes were becoming a significant issue. However, on routine backside inspections, we noticed that there were paving crews on Turf Paradise's property doing some spot repairs. In an addendum that has been issued by General Manager Vince Francia, he indicates that there'll be more paving done on Friday 12/13 as well as Thursday 12/19 for ongoing pothole repairs. And on that, we did Monday, Vince and I went through the complex and noticed that, potholes, and there was water in them, but there was going to be taken care of. And this is an effort by Turf Paradise to do that. We mentioned on that tour the weeds and vegetation. While not a problem right now, as you will know, when the water comes, the weeds come, and they'll get pretty high. We talked about a program to where on the overnight there'd be a notice to the horsemen on who was responsible for taking care of weed patches and things of that nature. We'll keep a look for that in the coming months, but feel that they'll be adequate, that those weed patches will be taken care of. Oleanders on the north side are fine. South side oleanders near the entrance gate have been cut down. We talked about the drainage ditch on the west side, which is a critical component to the water flow. That has been cleaned out and weed removed, so that's doing very well. I talked about last month about the L row and a barn collapsed. We went back and re-inspected it, and the wall was taken care of. We also mentioned to Drift Paradise that there was a couple other walls that may be leaning a little bit. In the addendum, Vince has indicated that stall wall repairs were going to be finished by 12/14, which is coming up here. Roof leaks, they're always there. We've talked about it a little bit. In your packet, you had some pictures. That was particularly in D6. That's been repaired before. It's ongoing, and they're going to go back and assess that repair on D6 and take a look at it. So when the rains come, we hear about leaks, we notify management and go from there. Bridle path, we noticed on an inspection on December 5th that there was several piles of sand. That's been now moved about 200 yards to the east, but it matches up to the 5 furlong gap. That's looking very well as far, and it's being maintained as well. We went on to an early morning on December 4th. They did a lighting inspection, and other than normal bulbs and things like that, it appeared to be okay. So that is the December report. And Vince and I will probably get together in another week or so to go back on the backside.
Thanks, Greg. Budget report, Jason here.
Oh, actually, before we move on, I just wanted to mention, typically during the safety reports, I've been known to be somewhat crabby during those reports. I did want to mention that since the last meeting, I've been on the backside a couple of times. People back there have noticed work is being done. I was there, I think, one morning after a really big rain. I was expecting puddles, and I didn't see what I was expecting. So I just want to say to everyone, management, staff, thank you for working on these. You guys have done a good job.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, Jason, budget report.
He is not here today. I will ensure that he makes it to the next meeting where there's nothing of concern regarding budget right now.
Thanks, Rudy. That means you can pay time and a half for these additional. Permittee reports not to exceed 3 minutes. American Greyhound.
No report.
Arizona Downs, I think, Tommy, you were scheduled to speak.
I think you probably heard enough.
Okay, thanks, Dave. County Fairs.
Mr. Chair, if there's no one from the county fairs here to speak, I would just like to remind everyone, especially the county fairs, that the grants that they can apply for, they now have to January 31st, and would like to see as many of them as possible get their applications in for the grants.
Okay, good. Maybe the department can reach out to them.
We sent out an email. If there are any new contacts with the county fairs, please let me know. This is Secretary Goodwin, because I sent out an email to all the contacts I had on record back in October.
Okay.
And just the paperwork's on the website as well. So there's a link.
Great. Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Rito? I don't see Jay. Tucson Greyhound.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gray again. Tucson Greyhound Park, Alicia wasn't able to make it today, but she did want me to let everyone know that they did file their 3-year permit renewal on 11/26/2019. They did receive an acknowledgement that it was received and was told that an acceptance letter would be sent, but they have not yet received one.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Nope, that was what I was going to refer to.
Turf Paradise.
Good to go, Commissioner, unless there are questions.
Okay. Moving on to D4, Optional Industry Stakeholder Association updates, limited to officers or officially designated spokesperson, not to exceed 3 minutes. Arizona Counties Racing Association. Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association.
Nothing to report.
Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders Association. HBPA.
All good.
Okay. Jockeys Guild. Okay. E, summary of current events affecting.
Oh, Mr. Chair, Commissioner
Yes.
Gray, before we move on to E, would like to, if you will, go ahead and recognize the integrity awards at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Jeffrey, did you have anyone for today?
I do not at this time.
All right, I do believe Arizona Downs, did you have anyone for today?
I don't think so.
Was Arizona Downs still there?
They are, and they indicated none. Sorry.
If we had
Okay.
one, we'd give it to Ann McGovern, but I don't know the procedure.
Turf Paradise.
No nominations for today. Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I have two people that have been around for quite a while and has been a great help to the commission, and I think they are standout individuals. It would be Cassie and Greg.
Oh, well, thank you.
Good.
Good.
Thank you. Do I have to give you one too?
I'd do this myself.
Thanks, Rory. Okay. Commission reports summary of current events affecting the Arizona Racing Commission.
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing. You know, the elephant in the room is the Monarch signal to Arizona Downs. I mean, simulcasting has become the lifeblood of the industry, and I think there's got to be a way. Everybody needs to try to come up with an idea of how we can get Monarch to send their signal to Arizona Downs. I mean, this is no fun to sit here every week and wish we could make Monarch do that and not at the detriment to Turf Paradise. I mean, we want Turf Paradise. We want all you guys to be able to simulcast every track you want to simulcast at as many locations as you can afford to open and simulcast those races. So help us if you can. Well, why not?
Why not? I'll even sign the paper.
Just state your name.
Just because I'm curious. Okay, I'm Stacy Campo. Good afternoon, everybody, commissioners. If they approved the Breeders' Cup, and everybody got it, correct?
Right.
Everybody was able to bet and enjoy a great day of racing, which we all thrive to get to.
Wish I had made some money.
Did the world collapse in that short period of time of us watching with Arizona Downs, Turf Paradise, us as, running? Did anything on those days, those 2 days that they were broadcast and done, did anything go horribly wrong?
No.
So if we use that as a trial and say, hey, we did this, we made an effort to try these 2 days, nothing happened, maybe there's a possibility maybe we could try it again. Coming up, we've got some other big races coming up. We got the Dubai World Cup. So maybe we say, hey, let's try this again, maybe Dubai World Cup, give them that day, and maybe everybody, we could just keep trying these days, since the world did not end for racing in the state of Arizona, putting those days together and having 2 tracks that have OTVs to be able to run.
Well, that's,
The world didn't end, and we all noticed it at the track. We all betted and realized that we were all getting along, and it seemed like everybody was fine, but they all got to sit.
yeah, the problem with the
I know there's
Dubai is,
legalities, I understand all that, but it
Yeah.
didn't end, so.
well, Dubai's probably not a Monarch product, and it's at, 5 o'clock in the morning until the
But you know what,
final
we're
race.
watching it.
Yeah.
It's on. I
But
see every bar's got it on.
I do like the idea of you know, maybe we approach them with, let's do a trial.
Let's try it
Let's
and
do
see
something.
if anything happens.
Just so everyone knows, I do plan to reach out to Monarch myself to see what we can come to some sort of agreement on.
Okay, well, just
That'd be
thank you
great,
for your
Lori.
time.
Good, thanks, Dennis.
Okay, identification of matters for future agendas. Anybody have anything they want to see next month?
Yes. I believe last month, Steve Nolan had asked that we put on this particular agenda R19-2104, which is permitting responsibilities.
Okay, we can't.
I believe Steve Nolan had asked that the commission put on R19-2104 discussion, which is permitting responsibilities. We failed to add that to the agenda today, so we will put it on the January agenda to have some discussion about that.
Okay. Let's see. Call to the public. I don't see anybody signed up. Announcements. The next regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting tentatively is scheduled for 10 a.m. on Thursday, January 10th.
January 9th, excuse me, that was a typo I was looking
Okay,
at last year.
January 9th, 2020, in this room, and is subject to change based on a quorum. Next item is adjournment. I entertain a
I
motion.
so moved.
Second.
Sorry, I'm giving that to Commissioner Lawless. So vote Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless.
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned at 11:41 a.m. Thank you.